Okay, welcome to the City of David. We've walked down the hill, we've talked a little bit about the stone structure, we've had a look at the infamous royal toilet, and this is a really good place. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the City of David and its biblical significance, and so many amazing events happened here. But I think one of the things that we can see or understand is just because no one has done it before doesn't mean that something's impossible. When we think about what is not possible, we tend to think about the bounds of human limitations, the 4-minute mile, climbing Mount Everest, swimming the English Channel, or the bounds of our technical achievement, being able to go to the moon, launching satellites, going to the depths of the oceans, or breaking speed records. We very rarely think of spiritual breakthroughs, which is what I want to talk about here with you in the City of David. The City of David is an ancient archaeological site located just south of Jerusalem's Old City in a place of early biblical history. This area is often considered the birthplace of Jerusalem, which it is with the City of David. It was inhabited, of course, before David, which we're going to talk about. It provides profound insights into the city's earliest and evolution over several millennia. So that's over 5,000 years ago now. As the site, 3,000 years. As the site of King David's original Jerusalem, the City of David offers a fascinating glimpse into the origin of one of the world's most iconic cities. This lesson delves into the history, the archaeology, and the significance of the City of David, highlighting its role in biblical history, in Jerusalem's rich biblical history. So the origins of Jerusalem. So this is important for us to get a bit of an understanding about how Jerusalem actually started. It was already inhabited, and David chose it to be his city, and because it was between the kingdoms of the north and the kingdoms of the south, so it became a neutral place to go launch. So none of the tribes had conquered this city, and it had always remained in the hands of other people groups and things like that. So David chose this as a neutral city, as a place to be able to call his capital of his kingdom. So the City of David holds immense historical and cultural significance. According to the Bible, it was here that King David established Jerusalem as the capital of the Kingdom of Israel around 1000 BC, or 3,000 years ago. This foundational moment is marked at the beginning of Jerusalem's transformation from a modest Canaanite city into a prominent political and spiritual centre. The City of David's historical importance is closely linked to its strategic location, that being it's situated on a ridge overlooking the Kidron Valley, which we've sort of walked up the Kidron Valley earlier on this week, and surrounded by natural defences. The site offers a commanding view and control over the surrounding region. This strategic advantage made it an ideal location for David to establish his kingdom and expand his influence. So where are we? We're in the City of David, and if you're in the area of the old city, as you would understand, or the Ophel that we've been digging on, which is the southern area of the Temple Mount, we now go down the hill or head further south into the original old city of the Kingdom of David. So it was relatively small, this defensive. It's a fairly small, narrow piece of land, but it's got steep valleys all around it, and was absolutely ideal. It also had a significant water supply, being the Gihon Spring, which we're going to go through and we're going to walk through and take you through, which is very exciting. And it's about a 500-metre long walk that we're going to take a little bit later and film for you so you can enjoy that with us. So when are we? 1000 BC. David strategically decided to capture Jerusalem and make it his capital. The Jebusites had inhabited the town, and it appeared that it's, according to biblical history, that it had never actually been captured. So 20 years before this, there's an interesting event where David kills Goliath and takes his head to Jerusalem. It appears that very early on, David was staking his claim on Jerusalem. One day we're coming to get you. So a fairly brutal example of what was going to happen. So what happened here? Many things happened here. The tribes approached David to become king after the death of Saul and Jonathan. At this time, he'd been ruling the south from Hebron, but now he needed a capital city, the neutral, that did not belong to the tribes of the south. Jerusalem was still inhabited by the Jebusites. It was centrally located, highly defensive structure, so it gave him the perfect city location. It had never been conquered. It was central to the northern and the southern tribes, and it would require a miracle for him to take the city because it was easily defended. So then comes the Tiznor. Now that's a Hebrew word, and it only appears once in the Bible, and it appears that this is possibly a water shaft is what they're actually talking about. It's a Hebrew word used only once in ancient texts, so we have nothing to compare it to, and it seems to indicate a crack or an opening in the rock. On the discovery of Warren's shaft system, which we'll have a look at, it was supposed to identify it with a thinner Hebrew pipe or shaft mentioned in the Bible's description of David's conquest of the city of Jerusalem in 2 Samuel 5:8. When we see Warren's shaft, we understand why the Jebusites claimed that even the blind and the lame could defend it, because it was seemingly impossible that anybody could come up this shaft. David's leadership was about demonstrating that God could overcome any challenge. In a world where people believe in a myriad of gods, the one true God was the most powerful of them all. Just because it had never been done before didn't mean that it wasn't possible to be done. David first demonstrated the impossible by defeating Goliath, then he led and inspired others in what they could do. Those men became his mighty men because they likewise did incredible feats in the name of God. Jerusalem, the impenetrable city, was taken by David and his mighty men. Today we have mighty men and women of God taking new ground all around us. Just because it's never been done before doesn't mean it's impossible or it can't be done. At Acts, we want high quality, low cost and globally available training. Why? 30 years ago, it was impossible to think a computer could be affordable. 20 years ago, it was impossible to think an 8-year-old would have a mobile phone. 10 years ago, believing that you were able to reach thousands of different people doing training on their phone seemed impossible. Impossible just means we haven't found a way in God to do what we're doing yet. The Jebusite king looked at his city and said, "It cannot be taken." David looks at Jerusalem and says, "This will be the capital of my city because my God is able." So what are the archaeological discoveries unveiling the ancient city? There's extensive archaeological excavations, and there's just way too many to go through, so I'm just going to give you a couple of highlights. The first one is the stepstone structure, which we see right behind us there. It's one of the most significant discoveries in the city of David. The stepstone structure is a massive multi-tiered platform that is believed to be part of the city's fortifications. This structure consisted of large stone blocks arranged in a step formation, provides evidence of the city's advanced engineering and construction techniques. The stepstone structure was likely part of the defensive structure that protected the city from invaders. Its construction demonstrates the strategic site and importance of the city and the capability of these ancient builders. So let's have a look at 2 Samuel chapter 5 verse 6 to 8, which talks about the capture of Jerusalem. David then led his men to Jerusalem to fight against the Jebusites, the original inhabitants of the land who were living there. The Jebusites taunted David, saying, "You'll never be able to get in here. Even the blind and the lame could keep you out." For the Jebusites thought they were safe. But David captured the Zion fortress, and it is now called the City of David. On the day of the attack, David said to his troops, "I hate those lame and blind Jebusites. Whoever attacks them should strike by entering the city through the water tunnel." This is the origin of the saying, "The blind and the lame may not enter the house." So we also have the Gihon Spring, which we're going to be walking through. Now the Gihon Spring was the city of David's biblical Jerusalem, is now located in a low, narrow spur on the south of the Temple Mount and today's Old City. A settlement existed here in the Bronze and Iron Ages, where remains of fortifications and buildings were found. The Gihon Spring is the city's only water source and emerges in the Kidron Valley to the east of the city of David. It made founding the city of David possible and sustained its existence for thousands of years. The Hebrew name for the spring is derived from the verb meaning to gush forth, reflecting the flowing nature of the stream, which is not steady but intermittent, with rushes and force of water coming up in a spring-like manner. Its frequency varies with seasons of the year and annual rainfall. I must say, having gone through this several times, it's dropping all the time now with the water being pumped out, and it's very low. First time I went through it was waist deep in 1996, and now we expect it to be below our knees when we go through today, and that's just a sign of climate change that's happened over the years. So the three waterworks are fed by the Gihon spring, and they're carved into the rock in the ancient city of David. They are the most complex and advanced known in the biblical cities. The systems were planned during different periods of times, and they served a variety of purposes. All three water systems were in operation simultaneously in the First Temple period, and each offered a significant amount of water for the city's supply, which is of course critically important for any city to function, to have a reliable water source. Warren Shaft system: in the times of war, the city of David's water supply was vulnerable since the Gihon spring was in the Kidron Valley, which was outside of the city walls. Warren Shaft is the earliest of the water systems, and it was filled with accumulated debris, and it was discovered in 1867 by Warren and named after him. Investigation documentation conducted by H. Vincent in 1909 to 1911, and in the early 1980s, the Warren Shaft system was cleared and reinvestigated by Shiloh, and since 1995, new research has discovered more about the shaft and the tunnel. Most scholars agree that Warren Shaft was the artificial and product of tremendous effort. However, hydraulic study conducted in the beginning of the 1980s has established that the shaft was mainly natural and was carved out to make a little bit larger at certain stages. On discovery of Warren Shaft's water system, it was proposed to identify the thinner Hebrew pipe or water shaft mentioned in the Bible of David's conquest. As David said on that day, whoever gets up to the top and smites the Jebusites, meaning that this narrow passage was problematic. A parallel description of the city's conquest of David in 1 Chronicles 11:4-7 fails to mention it. For this reason, and in light of comparative archaeology, most modern archaeologists do not accept that this was actually what David was talking about, but I would suggest that there's no other option, just because they haven't been able to find and discover another option yet. So we'll have a look at that as we're walking through. And also, we're going to go through Hezekiah's tunnel, or what some people call the Siloam Channel. And it was cut at the beginning of the 2nd century millennium, and emerges from the Gihon spring and extends 400 meters south through the eastern slope of the city of David, and ends up running into the valley. So Hezekiah's tunnel is also known as the Siloam Tunnel, is another remarkable feature of the city of David. This underground water supply was constructed during the reign of King Hezekiah in the late 8th century. To secure the water supply for the city during that time, the tunnel connects the Gihon spring to the city's prime water source and flows into the Pool of Siloam, which was located inside the city. The tunnel, which stretches for 533 kilometres, showcases the advanced engineering skills of the ancient builders. Walking through the tunnel offers a unique perspective. We're going to have a look at a replica of the Siloam inscription, which is a fascinating account, and the translation says something like this, because they actually started digging the tunnel from both ends. So this is why it's a particular amazing feat, because it wasn't in a straight line, and nobody to this day still knows the exact technology that they were able to use. That's why we call Hezekiah's tunnel an amazing, miraculous invention. So the Siloam inscription says breakthrough, and this was the account of the breakthrough. While the labourers were still working with their picks, each toward the other, and while they were still 3 cubits to be broken through, the voice of one was heard calling through the ziddah, or the crack in the rock, from south to north. The labourers struck at each other and broke, and at the breakthrough, pick against pick. Then the water flowed from the spring to the pool, 1,200 cubits, and the height of the rocks was above the head of the labourers was 100 cubits. The project is mentioned in 2 Kings 20:20, and how he made a pool and a tunnel and brought the water into the city, and again mentioned in 2 Chronicles 32:30. This same Hezekiah has also stopped up the water from Gihon and brought it straight into the city of David. So there's so many different things, that we can talk about in the city of David, and it's the place where we've got the conquest of Jerusalem, we've got the story of the Ark of the Covenant, we've got Solomon's temple being built in the north, and the legacy of the city of David is absolutely phenomenal and enormous, that being that it constantly reminds us over and over again that nothing's impossible and the miraculous is truly possible. The city of David stands as a testament to Jerusalem's ancient origins and its enduring sacrifice. As the King David's original city in Jerusalem, it provides valuable insights into the city's early development, its strategic importance, and its role in biblical tradition and history. The archaeological discoveries and the historical context of the city of David offers a rich and compelling narrative that enhances our understanding of one of the world's most important biblical cities. Exploring the city of David allows visitors to connect with Jerusalem's deep history and appreciates the foundations of its spiritual legacy. And just because it's never been done before doesn't mean you can't do it in God. Amen. So I hope you've enjoyed our walk through the tunnel, and we're about to make our way down there now, and we'll show you that video. So enjoy as we break through. It's completely pitch black. We've got some lighting today which will hopefully give us a really good view of inside the tunnel, and then we break through and we commence, and I'll stop and we'll have a look at the end, we'll have a look at the Siloam inscription, and we'll also walk out, and there's a little pool there. That's not the pool of Siloam, that's a much later pool that was built during the Byzantine period. But after that, in the next video, we'll have a look at the pool of Siloam. Hope you enjoy our wander through the city of David.